In special session to order. If everyone will stand for the pledge of allegiance and remain standing for the invocation. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Let us pray. Our Heavenly Father, we thank you for your many blessings. We ask for your guidance and our deliberations and what we do is pleasing in your eyes and best for our community. We ask for you to help us continue to get past this pandemic, look after our citizens, our troops, our first responders, our law enforcement, and our citizens. In your name we pray. Amen. Ms. Sykes, call the roll, please.
Mr. Sampson.
Here.
Mr. Green.
Here.
Mr. Hill.
Here.
Mr. Jefferson.
Here.
Mayor Witt.
Here.
Mr. Coberline.
Here.
Mr. Helpenberger.
Here.
Chief Gilmore. Here.
Okay, first one is approval of the agenda.
We approve the agenda first, right? Second.
Motion and second to approve the agenda is published. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, next person is wishing to address the council. I don't have anybody signed up. Anybody in the room wish to speak? Do you have anybody online?
No.
Okay, we'll move along. Next is new business. We'll discuss possible action, city council resolution 2021-049. Mr. Carolina, would you read that by title?
A resolution of the City Council of the City of Lake City, Florida, appointing members to serve on the Utility Advisory Committee to the City Council as created by the Code of the City of Lake City, Florida, repealing all resolutions in conflict and providing an effective date period.
Is there a motion of the city council resolution 2021-049?
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to table resolution 2021-049 and take it up at our next council meeting.
Okay, where's that gonna leave us for Wednesday?
Meeting with the group, how it's set up now.
That's only one council person.
I do think that you could appoint a council member as a second member.
That's what I thought we were doing with this.
Well, it's changed. This is changing the makeup again for another time.
Right.
It's adding other people to it. It's different than the one we approved just at the last meeting. So, I mean, the other thing I could do is make the motion to add the same people I made at the previous meeting and just change. I mean, it's still two council members the same way. And I don't have anything against anybody that we wanted to add to it, but I think we need to just have a meeting with the people we put on at the last meeting and move forward from there and see how do we interact together. Who knows where we're going, but we keep changing at every meeting the makeup of this committee.
I agree with that. We were kind of headed this direction, then we changed gears and and then we changed the other day. But we're still down to one council member without a resolution.
Well, I could alter that motion to add a council member to what we just approved at the last meeting. Would that be acceptable?
Mr. Caroline?
Mayor, that would be acceptable. The subject matter is here to let the public know that the composition may change. Additionally, the code requires that any absences or vacancies, strike that word absences, any vacancy must immediately be reported to the city council, so a reappointment may be made.
So we could make an appointment for just this purpose?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So if we made the appointment of Mr. Jefferson, that would do it?
Yes, sir. You can do what's on the agenda, or you can do what Mr. Sampson, Councilmember Sampson just suggested. So you can, what I'm saying is that the subject matter has been advertised. And so you can recompose the committee as you see fit. And you should do at least one member due to
That's
that
right.
vacancy I mentioned.
That's right. So with that being the case, could I change my motion as a motion to fill the vacancy with Mr. Jefferson.
And table the resolution. That would take a second since he's adding to the motion. The table only takes the motion, right? Or do you have to have a second for the motion to table?
Well, I think that what can be achieved here is amending resolution 049. So you could amend 049 to have what was in the previous resolution passed at the last meeting and adding Councilmember Jefferson in place of Councilmember Green. But if you remember at the last meeting, the motion was to amend the resolution that had been prepared and placed in your packet.
Right,
That passed. Councilmember Green resigned.
right.
We now have resolution 049, which is what the administration pieced together. If you had a motion to amend 049 to include only those members who were on the last resolution, and forgive me, the number escapes me, and substituting in Mr. Jefferson in place for Mr.
We're
Green.
not tabling it, is what you're saying.
That's correct.
Okay.
Okay, I think that would work. So let me restate that. So I make a motion that we'd approve City Council Resolution 2021-4049 with the amendment that we would replace the people listed here with the people we had in the last resolution and substituting Mr. Jefferson for Mr. Green as the other council member.
Okay, is there a second?
So
Okay, there's been a motion and a second. Any further discussion? I'd like to see Mr. Kratz on it. I think he'd be a valuable addition from his knowledge and all, but we'll do what the council wants. Ms. Sykes, you call the roll.
Mayor, I just want to make sure that everyone understands that you are not an ex officio member with the motion that he made.
Correct.
Okay, so we're, okay. So it's actually just striking out Mayor Witt and Daniel Kratz is being removed and Mayor Witt's being removed.
Just how it was at the last meeting. Now, I'm not saying it should never be changed, but what we talked about at the last meeting is the only change being Mr. Jefferson.
Okay, would you call the roll then?
Mr. Sampson,
Yes.
Mr. Hill,
Yes.
Mr. Jefferson.
Yeah.
Mr. Green,
no,
Mayor Witt.
No. Okay, next we have discussion and possible action on Fort Wright RFP. Mr. Helfenberger.
Okay, the city staff and Jones Edmond Engineering reviewed the RFP from the town of Fort White regarding public water supply and water distribution. The cost of extending the city of Lake City potable water to Fort White is estimated to be between $5,950,000 to $12,760,000. At this time, there's no identified revenue source to do this project. Even if grants were available to cover the cost of extending the water to Fort Maine, the distribution system would require additional resources. In addition, taking into account that Fort White only has about a little over 300 services, if Lake City were to fund the project, it would take up to 70 years to break even for this cost. With the length of time, with the length of the line needed, it would take approximately 9 days from the time the fresh water left the water treatment plant until it exited the line at Fort White due to the low water usage on a pipe that's running that long. Due to the high cost and the deadline for the RFP being April 2nd, it is the recommendation of myself and city staff and Jones Edmonds that the city not submit a bid for this project and offer instead technical assistance to Columbia County as they figure out how to assist Fort White. The cost of providing the water supply appears to be so high that the only viable option at this time may be for Fort White to drill a well on the land that Swan River Water Management District has made available to them. So I would recommend that you not submit a bid and offer technical assistance on the account.
Any questions by council or comments?
Mr. Mayor,
Yeah.
I have a comment. I know that the wide range of numbers, is that due to the fact that we haven't had time to vet completely what the actual cost will be?
Right, there isn't sufficient time to allow for the detailed engineering to get a firm cost on it. And if you'd like, Gene Bell would elaborate on that.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yep.
Excellent. Good evening, everyone. Sorry I couldn't be there in person. Yes, the wide range in the cost estimate is because it's what we call a class 5 cost estimate or a planning level cost estimate. And that's due to the limited amount of information available to us at this time. We were able to do a relatively detailed cost estimate, all things considered, taking into account the approximately 53,000 linear feet of pipeline, the amount of fittings it would take to go from the Columbia City School area to the Fort White athletic fields, including any directional drilling that may need to go under roads, as well as driveway reconstruction, et cetera. We have a very detailed cost estimate we provided to Mr. Helfenberger and Mr. Dial. And when you do a class 5 cost estimate, you come up with a number, but then you estimate it could be anywhere from 30% less to 50% more. And that's to take into account, obviously, site conditions that we're not aware of without having actually gone into the field, changing material costs, and of course, inflation, depending on when the project actually might be implemented. As an example, we're seeing right now, due to the issues out in Texas with PVC pipe bursting, PVC pipe costs have gone up 17% in the last week and a half alone. So we try to take into account the volatility of the construction materials market. But again, the cost we came up with was in the neighborhood of $8 million, but there's a wide range from between 5 and 6 million to up to 13 million based on that level of variability.
Mr. Mayor, may I make another comment to Jamie?
Sure.
Jamie, that's pretty quick. You got those numbers back for us. I mean, I've never seen a request that is this short on something this large before. I mean, you're talking about from Friday to today, this is only really our 6th business day. And for them to want to bid in 10 business days, I think is, it's just not something we can accommodate at this price. I mean, we can't even tighten down the numbers tight enough to know. But I think you've done a great job of getting it that close. So I think if we could offer them the technical assistance to help in whatever matter they need, because we do have experience and we have the knowledge on our staff to do it, I think that's probably the best way to go.
Yeah, I don't think it's financially feasible for us to run a line from here down there to do it. I think it's better for them to do their own field, and but we do have the talent to help them out and we can all work together. And I think we can give them a lot of assistance. Anybody else have any comments? Yes,
Mr. Bowden has his hand raised.
okay,
Do you want me to let him talk?
yes,
Mr. Mayor,
yes, sir.
and I apologize for not requesting to speak earlier on this issue. I guess I got a question as a citizen and a former city councilman. Is, I only read in the newspaper. Why did the city council or the city manager or Mr. Todd even go down to Fort White to give the impression as if the city was interested in providing, they can answer for themselves, this particular service to Fort White without having a number that was provided today? I just don't understand the messages that are being sent according to the media. Now, the media could be wrong, but it's just confusing to me that the people would indicate that the city of Lake City is interested in providing water to Fort White, and then the county commissioners feel like it's just been proposed as a conflict of fighting back. So perhaps somebody can explain to the citizens of Lake City what was the motivation for even going to Fort White and having that discussion without having the numbers that the young lady just presented.
I don't have that.
Well, I know you don't, you wasn't there, but the city manager was there and Councilman Sampson was there. So what was the motivation for even going to Fort White?
That's up to them if they want to comment or not.
Well, that's fine. Man up or shut up. Don't matter to me.
Mr. Mayor, I'll make a comment on that.
Sure.
I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that you don't know what you don't know. And so the fact is, there was a meeting held on short notice, and we wanted to be there to make an opportunity for the citizens to see what we could offer. As you can see by the fact this RFP was only a 10-day process to bid, it tells you about where they're at. And I'm not even sure from talking to some people at the county what they're doing. That's one thing. Secondarily, we did have some preliminary numbers worked out in advance that were far different than these. And I know we had those numbers at that meeting. So the numbers change. I mean, there's several reasons. I mean, anyone in the construction business understands that material costs have dramatically changed in a very short period of time. If you go to buy a PVC pipe today, you're going to pay a lot more for it, just like 2x4s and anything else. But I think the fact is, all opportunities need to be uncovered and looked at. And then as you get more information, the story could change as to what you want to offer.
I appreciate it, Councilman Sampson, but I think you have to look at the total environment. All this happened at the same time that there's a conflict and a controversy between the city and the county as it relates to utilities. And you can't just talk about this as if this just an issue by itself, because that's not how it's being perceived in the whole community. But that's a time for a different discussion. I'll be happy to sit down and talk with you later. But there's a real perception issue in terms of what was the motivation. And we can talk about it later.
Anything else in council?
Jamie Bell has her hand raised.
If I may, Mr. Mayor, I just wanted to add a caveat that a pipeline extended from the city of Lake City system to the town of Fort White is not the only way for Lake City to be, I don't know if competitive is the right word, but to go after this RFP. That there's the other option of the city could take over the existing Fort White water system as is. That is a little bit risky because they have known water quality issues, and they've been working with the water management district to obtain a new well field to hopefully drill some new wells and get some better water. And they are aware that they have some issues in their system, and we're seeking grant funding and legislative appropriation to address that. But I want to make it clear that this $6 to $13 million range is not the only path forward. If the city is very interested in pursuing this, you could take over the system as is in the short term, and then in the long term look towards some sort of interconnect system. But that is a substantial undertaking. It's over 9 miles of pipeline, which is a really big project. And I agree with whoever mentioned that if you don't have the dedicated funding source to pay for that now, it's certainly challenging. But I just wanted to throw it out there that the city does have multiple options. However, I would tend to agree that your technical expertise is the most valuable thing you certainly have to offer right from the jump. And then the rest is a more challenging consideration. So that's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Anything else?
Mayor,
Yes.
it's in the city's best interest to entertain a motion to waive the rule of the city code that mandates how a committee meeting is established currently, and it is going to come up in front of the council here in the very near future. But currently, the city code requires a chairperson of a committee to establish the date and the time when a committee meets. Mr. Helfenberger went ahead and established a utility advisory committee meeting for this upcoming week. And so in order to hold that meeting, it would be in the city's best interest to waive, again, the rule of the city code that requires the chairperson to establish the time and location of the meeting. And that will help prevent on Wednesday any objections to a meeting not being properly noticed. So again, it'd be a simple waiver of the rule of the code that mandates how a committee meeting is established.
Is there a motion to that effect?
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion to waive the formal process of calling the committee meeting in the ordinance 248.
Sarah, second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Ms. Oxley, call the roll.
Mr. Sampson,
Yes.
Mr. Hill,
Yes.
Mr. Jefferson.
Yeah.
Mr. Green,
No.
Mayor Witt.
Yes. Okay. Back to four right, is the consensus not to do anything at this time?
Mr. Mayor, I think we, if I may make a comment, I think we should engage with the county and see what their plans are and see how we can assist them first. But without the funding and with the cost being much different than what we were, you know, the initial number we got, I think was $4 million, wasn't that right? So, I mean, the cost has changed drastically from that first number.
Well, I think it's something for the utility committee to take up and discuss further, but
I agree with that.
not to be able to meet this time requirement. Okay, anything else? So we head into music comments for council. If there's no comments, we will be adjourned.